get the question all the time, what is the sharpest sword that you own? Well, that's a hard question to answer because I can't really convey a feel of a blade to you. I have well over 100 swords as far as sharp swords in my collection, and I think almost to the T, you get what you pay for. When you buy a cheaper sword, $50, $100, $200, they tend not to be very good steel, very sharp. The more money that you invest for a higher quality blade, it tends to be better sharpened. However, the sword doesn't have to be very sharp to be very effective. This is an old Edo period katana that is original. It is from the 1700s. It's very small, very short, very, very expensive to buy this sword. This is an original samurai sword from that period. But I would not consider this sword my sharpest. It has a nice edge on it, and I'll clean these blades after, so don't freak out if you see me touching them. It's fairly sharp. I mean, it'll go through someone's wrist or arm quite easily. So this is one of the sharpest swords that I own. But you're going to pay several $1,000s for a blade like this for the historical aspect, not necessarily for the quality. There are a lot of modern swords that have better quality steel than this and blades, but it's a nice sharp sword. This is Kairuto. This is the frog sword that you've seen me feature. This is all the rest of these I'm showing are Chinese made. Even the high-end swords. China really has taken over the market at sword smithing. Beautiful blade here, sharp, kind of a interesting shape there. This is another one that's really super sharp. It'll just cut like butter. So this is one of the sharpest swords that I own. This one's for sale too. A couple of these are for sale. So if you're interested in buying one of these, email us. But this is a sword based on the frog here, the kairu. So there's frog motif all over this. This is a nice blade, very light, good quality folded steel. That's one of the top 5 sharp swords right now that I own. And this is about, I would sell this for $400. It's definitely worth it. That Japanese sword from the Edo period is not for sale. This is called the Earth Sword, and this is another sharp katana here. Love the coloring on this one, but how sharp is sharp? Yeah, it'll do the job. Any of these with good footwork, good technique, will easily cut through flesh and bone. I mean, there's no real test. A paper test is really not the best test. We would need hard targets like bamboo or even tatami mats. But that is one of the sharpest swords that I have. Fair quality. This is about a $220 sword. So now you're going down in value, but I like the look of that. Are the curved swords better than the Chokuto straight blades? No, not necessarily. This is a ninja to, very small, very compact. This is one of the sharpest swords that I own. It's in the top 3 of sharp swords. And again, these are all made in China as a reproduction of, I wouldn't call it an authentic ninja to because they wouldn't have looked like this, but it's kind of the movie version. Big square tsuba guard, extra long handle here, very, very short blade, Chokuto style, straight blade, not curved. And you can see how short that is for quick drawing. But this is another folded blade, excellent quality. It's not, you know, this isn't cheap here, and this will just cut you like anything. It cuts itself. Unbelievably sharp blade. But this might be the sharpest sword that I own. There's something about the way that they sharpen this one. All of these that I have 5 of these ninja to swords. I have 3 for sale. These are about $400 each, but I love these because I grew up in the 1980s with Shokosugi, and you can see that poster. He has one of these. But there's something about this particular style here that really allows for beautiful sharpening. So I don't know who did it. I don't know what particular forge in China made this, but this Chokuto blade could be the sharpest that I own. This whole series, there's not one of these that isn't unbelievably sharp. Far more than most of the katana that I own. This is one of the Paul Chen orchid sword. You may have seen this before. I don't think they make these anymore. If they do, they're on special order, but these are extremely rare and hard to find. This is a K120C powdered steel. So this is a $1,500 sword. I call this the elven blade because it's blue. It's got gold orchids all over it. Super guard is beautiful. It's just a gorgeous sword here. Look at the end there of the saya. It just looks like something Elrond or someone would carry. And this is an extremely thin blade and frighteningly sharp. This is one of the lightest and longest swords that I own. And you can see, I hope you can see the grain pattern. It's probably very, very hard to see, but it's a beautiful Hamon line there. And you can see the hara, the wood pattern of the blade itself. I mean, it's really, really sharp, beautifully made, but look how thin that blade is. Really a thin, quick, that's why I call it an elven blade. It doesn't have a lot of heft to it. As far as hard targets, I don't know how it would act. I'm not cut with this sword. This one's for sale too. I would let this go. It's used, it's in great condition, but it's not considered brand new. I would let this go for $900. So in my opinion, the sharpest, it has to be the Ninja Toe. That's got to be the sharpest. This is second, probably, this orchid sword from CAS. Even though it's old, it's quite sharp. And then these two, the earth sword. All of these are good. They're going to get the job done. And the Kairuto frog blade is also quite sharp. So those are the ones that I got out, are probably the top 6 or 7 that I find are the sharpest in my particular collection. All those on the wall back there. The ones on the left over there are really sharp. And then the ones over here are Iaito. These are not sharp, except for the one at the top. That super long sword is sharp. But these are Iaito that myself and the students use when we do sword class here at the dojo. You don't want to train with a sharp blade. You want to train with an Iaito, which is just a non-sharpened blade. And I always recommend, if you haven't seen the videos before, aluminum alloy blades are okay to use for Iaito, but they don't clash. They bend very easily. So my opinion is get a stainless steel Iaito, or you can buy a sharp sword and just file the blade down, or put tape over it. I've done that too. When I film some scenes for DVDs, I'll often use a straight sword and I'll just put a couple layers of clear tape over the blade. It protects your ukes, your training partners, from getting cut. But I also have swords that I have that were sharp, that I dulled down with either a file or whetstones or a grinder. Anything you want, really. All of these will get the job done. In my opinion, it's not about the sharpness of the blade. Many swords back then, historically in my readings and research, were not that sharp. They just weren't. You sharpened your blade only when it was dinged up in battle. So if you're clashing swords together, which they did all the time, you would have like a sawtooth blade. You'd have pieces of the blade that had pits in them and cuts and dullnesses. Then you would get out your stones and sharpen them. But the blades were not sharpened, from all the research I've done, a lot. They were just sharpened when they had to be, when they were destructively hurt somewhere in battle or a fight. But the swords nowadays that don't see action are going to stay sharp for a long, long time. There's no need why you would have to re-sharpen these. If you're interested in buying any of these and it's in your budget, email and we'll have someone send along the specs for you. Serious inquiries only. Don't just, hey, how much is it? I'm not going to get into sword selling here. I don't need the money, and I don't sell the swords for the money. I sell them because people out there might want to start their collection or get something a little bit better than what they might already have. You have to start somewhere. People always say, how did your collection get so big? Well, I just bought one sword at a time, and I'm an old guy now, so I buy 1, 2 swords, 3 swords a year, and you accumulate a collection over time, and you get many, many dozen over a period of time. And of course you buy and sell them as well. I have students, I have about 15 swords up front that our students can come in and browse and take out and buy. Often you regret the ones you've sold. You're like, oh, remember that sword I used to have? I can't remember who I sold it to. That was 15 years ago I got rid of that katana. Boy, I wonder where it went. I wonder who has it. I'd love to have her back. Sometimes you regret the sales that you make. One man's junk is another man's treasure, and I find that the older I get, I don't care about the swords anymore, and I'll sell them at half price. I give swords away quite often, and we've given a lot away on this channel, because if I can make someone's life happier by giving them something that used to be mine, wonderful. How is your collection going? Do you have one sword? Do you have 5? Do you have none? Do you just have a wooden sword in the corner? Do you have one that you bought at a flea market for $30? You have to start somewhere. So if you're interested in collecting things, you have to do the research on the internet. Everything that I learned about swords, except with teachers, of course, about how to use them. Using them has nothing to do with collecting them. My opinion is using them is 100,000 times more important than collecting them. Can you use it? But you can start your collection anywhere. It starts with one. Okay, so that's a quick video on a couple of the sharpest swords that I have. There could be others that are sharper, and again, this isn't any type of scientific test. I'm just cutting paper, but I know the feel of a blade, and I can tell exactly how well it's sharpened just by years of experience, and all of these are quite sharp. Please be careful. Please be careful if you collect or have swords. I always say it. Make sure there are no children and no pets around your feet, because you can just happen to swing and hit something or someone you love, and these will go through skin and flesh, and in some cases bone like butter. So be very, very careful around these. Alright, that's a quick video for you guys, because I know you love swords like I do. It might inspire you to start collecting, and that's a good thing. I love the idea of preserving the Eastern culture. In some cases, I take it far more seriously than people in the East, and that's important to keep this alive. Otherwise, it just sits in a scabbard all day. Everyone have a great day, and thank you for watching, and go ahead and subscribe if you want more free videos like this. Have a great day or night wherever you live. Bye-bye.